Oh, I hope this is working. Uh, I just wanted to make a video about recent experiences I've had in relation to walking around Scotland in various places like Edinburgh and the Scottish borders. First of all, I had the pleasure to go to a park and ride just outside Edinburgh because ScotRail had decided to stop all trains because it was a bit windy and it was a bit rainy. So I decided to drive to Edinburgh to a park and ride, to Sheriff Hall Park and Ride to be specific. It's managed by Midlothian Council, apparently. And I got there. That is a car park. There's a building, but it was all shuttered up. There was no public toilets, and there were a bus stop, a very small bus stop, quite exposed to the elements because it was raining quite heavily, with people gathered in there and getting no shelter because the rain was just blowing straight in. And I haven't used Park and Ride for a long time. And in the bus stop, I looked for the bus information. There was no bus information. So I didn't know which bus to catch, which number to catch, where the bus would be going, etc. Right? That was one. Two, Tweedbank Rail Station in the Scottish Borders, the only rail station in the Scottish Borders. It was opened a few years ago to great fanfare. It's got 1,000 uh, spaces approximately, roughly. Could be a bit more, could be a bit less, I don't know. But it's about 1,000. And they have 2 electric charge points in the whole car park. Now, when it first opened, there was a little cabin, which was like a toilet for one person to use at a time. And it was disabled friendly. Uh, since COVID, it's been closed and it's never opened. There is another cabin next to it, which is a little shop. I'm not unsure of who runs it, but I've been told that Scottish Borders Council own the car park and manage it. ScotRail have nothing to do with it. ScotRail have a huge building there to house, I suppose, drivers, maintenance, uh, and all the other jobs that are associated with running a railway. But anyhow, I've been on Twitter tweeting Midlothian Council, ScotRail, Scottish Borders Council, John Lamont, who's the Borders MSP, Rachel Hamilton, MSP for the Scottish Parliament, John Lamont's the MP for the UK Parliament, and ScotRail said, no one can give me an answer why there's no public toilets. Midlothian Council have given me no answer why there's no public toilets at the park and ride. At the moment, as far when I'm out and about, I can see there's lots and lots and lots of work going on with the phone people, outreach. Is it outreach? BT outreach or whatever it is. I can't remember the name. All these vans wanting to get fibre phone lines everywhere for internet. In Edinburgh, in York Place, there's a park in the middle of York or York Square, just off Princess Street. A park with social distancing signs. They've been up there for months on bins. On Princess Street, there's signs for there's plainclothes police officers in the area, CCTV cameras everywhere. There's also, as everyone can tell, net zero is in all governments, Scottish Government, UK Government, net zero, zero carbon emissions, low emission zones. All this work's going on for that. There's also the 20-minute cities, planning for 20-minute cities to live in a certain neighbourhood, do everything you need in a certain neighbourhood. A lot of money's been spent on all this signage and CCTV and phone, internet connections, 5G, net zero, but you can't have a piss or a shit. You can't have a piss or a shit at a park and ride or a rail station. How many public toilets are in Edinburgh? How many were there 10 years ago? How many are there now? So I think this is related to net zero and Agenda 2030. Because they don't really want people to be travelling around. Listen, if you're going to want to encourage people to cycle more and to walk more and to get into just get around in their own steam, so to speak, right? Which is a good thing. Walking, cycling, running. Okay? Now, if this is what they're wanting to encourage, and I believe this is what they're saying they want to encourage, so to speak. However, because, well, the caveat is because they want to stop people using a car and get rid of their cars, right? Now here's the nudge, and it is a nudge. If you're going to encourage more people to cycle or to walk, because of the physiological activity of walking and cycling, as any cyclist will know, and any people who's a brisk walker or a jogger knows, it jiggles up the system, and there's more need for the toilet. So cyclists out and about in a cold winter's day will likely need the toilet. There are an awful lot of cyclists out there. If they want everyone to cycle or want everyone to walk, they will need people. They will need public toilets to cater for these people. But they're not planning to build public toilets. They're not making any more public toilets. Now, here's the nudge. In the Climate Change Committee document published by the House of Lords back in October 22 or 21, one or the other, it was all about how the COVID lockdowns, etc., have been very successful and there's lessons to be learned. This is before the inquiry to find out whether the COVID lockdowns were good or bad. But in this document, the Climate Change Committee document, which I reviewed in UK Column News a while ago, they basically said we can learn from the lessons from the COVID lockdowns to apply to climate change and net zero and stopping people driving, right? To manipulate people to stop them using their car, for example, to make them cycle or walk. However, as there's a dearth of public toilets out and about, people will be less inclined to go out and about. People will be wary of being out and about and being caught short. It is a base human activity to go for a piss or a shit or need the toilet or need to use the bathroom for any sort of reason. Now, the nudgers in charge of these new policies, Agenda 2030, net zero, etc., and the use of applied psychology, which they're using in conjunction with these policies, they will know fine well if the environment out and about where people are supposedly meant to be going via foot or by wheels of some kind, non-car, so to speak, they will know it will discourage people to go out and about. It's a base physiological human activity. And if there's barriers put up for people to go out, I mean, think of a disabled person who wants to get the bus to a rail station to get the train into the city. Well, they get the bus to the train station, but there's no public toilets, and they have to wait an hour for the train. What happens if they're desperate for the toilet? You know, they could soil themselves. What about young family driving to a park and ride? They've got little children. There's no baby changing facilities. The baby's screaming. It doesn't make things comfortable. What if someone wants to commute to work, walk, or cycle? But it's piss in the rain. They've got a dodgy stomach. They need a public toilet. There's nothing there. They're not creating, essentially, my point is, they're not creating an environment conducive to freedom of movement. They're targeting, in a psychological fashion, aspects of human activity that need to be, they need facilities there if you're wanting to encourage it. You don't set up a train station with no public toilets. I mean, any town planner worth his salt, I'm sure, would say, right, you've got to have a train station, you've got to have a car park, you've got to need public toilets here. Right, you're wanting to encourage people to cycle within this zone in Edinburgh or Glasgow or Aberdeen. You've got to have, we can do computer modelling. Cycling's got to go up 15%. Walking's got to go up 20%. It looks like we might need some more public conveniences here. But no. So what I'm encouraging people is, this is just a heralding cry, so to speak. Go around your town, your city, your village. See how many public toilets are boarded up. See how many public toilets are open or not. Ask your local council, where are the public toilets? I was at a fair in a town near here not long ago, and I took some children there, family, and I needed a toilet. The toilet in where the fairground was shut, so was the disabled. There was families there with kids. There was elderly people there with their grandchildren. There was nowhere to go for a piss or a shit. Nowhere. Nowhere at all. This event, the fair, had been planned for months in advance. The town county council, the Scottish Borders Council, did not plan that, this huge influx of people, local people and tourists to the area would have needed a public toilet. So, on a Facebook group, which was to deal with this town and the public toilet situation, well, not the public toilet, but for the area, asked I made a comment that it was disgraceful there was no public toilets, no public facilities available. My comment was deleted and I was banned from the group. That's a curious response, isn't it? It's a curious response for a simple thing. Say, don't you think there should have been some public toilets there? And my questions, I questioned a councillor, Arthur Scott, I think his name is, in Edinburgh. Collington, I think his area where he's a councillor. Labour. He proudly wears the Agenda 2030 badge. He's got a YouTube channel. I asked him on Twitter about the public toilet situation. And all he's responded once, and he's never responded to any other tweets that messages I've sent him. He's basically said they're committed to funding for public toilets. I said, well, can you expand on that? Clarify. What do you mean committed to funding? You are funding? You want to fund? How much funding? How many more toilets? Nothing. I just asked him for some details where I can find the information. No response. It's like they don't want to go down this road. Now, all these things going on in the world, there's Ukraine, there's Israel, there's Palestine, Russia. There's all these huge geopolitical issues. Huge. And everyone's getting in a tizzy about all these things. But the base activity of going for the toilet, I think it's a very important one. It's a rock, and he'll pull that little rock up, and what will he find? Because I think you'll find an unwillingness because they know fine well they don't want people to be going out and about, really. All this phone wiring being put up everywhere in a desk since for 4 years, 5G towers and new wiring and new internet. They say they want net zero. Where's all the charge points? As I said, in Tweedbank rail station, 1,000 cars, 2 charge points. Doesn't look like they're planning for electric cars. Then they're always on about health and safety as well. There's a little shop at the Tweedbank. I think it's run by Scottish Borders Council or owned by them. I don't know. But there's a guy who works there. I asked him, I said, have you got a key for the toilet? The little cabin that's constantly locked now. No. So this guy who works in this little cabin and sells teas and coffees and sandwiches, mince pies, whatever, where does he go for the toilet? Or the other staff? Where do they go for the toilet? You'd think part of working conditions would be you would need a toilet. The phrase that comes to mind is fur coat and no knickers. All this talk about Agenda 20, net zero, and let's go more walking, more cycling, health. To me, it's a mystery. The disappearance of all these public toilets. But it has a subtle, unreal effect on people's movement and behaviour. People will start unconsciously dreading to go out. So, well, if they go out and walk anywhere or cycle anywhere, you know, if they get caught short, what all happens? Well, if you get caught short, people will be soiling themselves. It's really not on. And I think this point of one's where one lives, town, city, village, etc., to start asking questions about All this money's been spent on all this CCTV, cycle lanes, mobile phone, 5G. Where's the public conveniences for people? Where are they? Just to freshen up before they go into their work. Because maybe the work doesn't have any sort of place where they can freshen up or they can change. They've not planned it because they don't want to plan for it, I think. And they know it'll have a negative psychological impact on people, and people will be less inclined, whether consciously or unconsciously, to go out and about walking or cycling. Generally speaking, as well, because when you're out shopping in towns or in cities, you want to know there's a public toilet you can go to if you need one, especially for people who are elderly or who have any sort of disability or frail or children with baby changing facilities. To not plan for all this means they're not wanting really people to be going out and about. And the fact that the politicians, the council, are not coming forth with an answer as why there is not these facilities available is a red flag. This is just a hypothesis. It's just a theory I have. So I encourage you to ask your local council, your MSP, MP, etc. Where's the bogs? Where's the toilets? You know, you can leave all the pontificating about geopolitical events to what's other people. The good old public toilet. Maybe that's where it's at.